जी, Assalamu alaikum students of grade 11. This is Pakistan International School Taif. I welcome you all on our YouTube channel. You are here with me in English Hub. Yes, students, before starting today's lecture, let me just share one thing with you. If you have noticed, like in my previous lectures, the theme was blue, right? So that theme was actually for my sons, for my brave falcons, young falcons, I must say, and for my energetic boys, right? And this week, this theme I have selected for my daughters, for my girls, for my delicate butterflies, right? Okay, so let's start it. As you know, it's virtual learning system session 2020 and lecture number 4, and the title the same topic as we were studying before. It's first year at Harrow. It's me, Mrs. Imran. Yes, Vite. Now, before starting today's objective, I just want to share one thing more here regarding types of writing, right? As you must have studied before, or I think you have an idea of that. But let me just make it a little fresh in your mind, right? I'm trying to just refresh in your mind. That's about prose and poetry, right? So these are two types of writing in English or maybe in any language, but here, specially or specifically, we are talking about English, right? So in prose is actually it's non-verse writing, right? Non-verse writing is in that way, like we are not using verse when you are reading prose. There are detailed sentences are given, well constructed sentences you may read, or it can be a type you can see like it may be a story or a novel or a drama, so that will be known as your prose. And later on, inshallah, maybe right after this topic, we'll be studying poetry as well, right? We'll be studying one poem. So this time, that's why I have told you so that at least your mind must be cleared enough in that you are studying actually this time prose. And for prose, the major objectives will almost remain. These will remain almost same, right? That reading will be there, writing will be there, and for sure we'll be learning new vocabulary words as well, and you'll be improving your writing skills, those which are also very important. Yes, reading is for sure very important. You need to make up your mind whenever you are reading any text. You need to understand that language, then description of topic must be clear in your mind, that what type of idea is being conveyed by the author, by that writer, or and variety of text, right? Now, writing. To be able to write describing impressions, feelings, and experiences, and to write about familiar topics. Very interesting, and it's very important as well, right? You need to be familiar with those with that specific text, and then afterwards, feelings have been shared, of course. Those different experiences have been shared as well, and afterwards, what you need to do, you simply have to write maybe the same topic or maybe some other familiar topics related to that piece of writing. So that's very important. Third point is new vocabulary words. Yes, students, we have been discussing it a lot. And as I've told you earlier, these are very important. If you are learning, if you're reading any text, reading right after reading, let's say, like, just take example of one paragraph. You have read that paragraph. Right after that, what will you be doing? You'll be simply taking out or picking out few of the words, few important words from that particular paragraph, or the words which you seem a little catchy, or you seem like I can use them, or you can reproduce them anywhere else, and you can make different sentences. So that's very important. So you need to learn those words first, and then you'll be using them in your conversation as well. Let me get you there now to the next page. Yes, this is our text, today's text. It is about, yes, if we talk about the chapter first, if you want me to review the chapter, there is no problem at all. I can review with you. So students, let me tell you a little about Churchill. As we started in the beginning, when we were reading, when we started this chapter, so the boy was hardly of 12 years old. He was entrusted, he wasn't actually entrusted to be assessed, right? And he was supposed to get admission in another school, and for that school he had to be there for next 7 years, right? And he wasn't entrusted that at least he should not be assessed, he should not be tested for that exam, for any type of admission test. But there was no choice, because of course if you are going to have admission, if you want to have admission in any other institution, so the most important thing, or like the teacher over there, or the staff members, or the administration, that at particular administration want you to judge, they want you to evaluate, they want you to know about yours, they want you to at least be at that level where you can they can recognize you well, they can know about you, they can check your capabilities, right? It's very important. Likewise, it happened with him, and the subject which they selected, or which they were already teaching over there, those were entirely different, which he studied before. And those subjects were which subjects? Those were history, which he was studying before, right? Poetry and writing essay, and he was interested that I should be assessed from these particular subjects, right? Whereas they were not in plan to do so. The examiners had their own plans, they had their own subjects, which those particular subjects were already being taught there. So that was also one of the reasons. Later on, what happened? There was a generous personality there. This his persona was he was a different kind of man. He gave him full spirit and support, and he was actually broad-minded guy, right? He gave him full support, and as he had his perception level was different, his lens was I mean, it was crystal clear, right? That he knew that this boy will be doing a lot in future, maybe due to certain reasons, or as he's not having previous knowledge, so he doesn't know a lot about these subjects. But later on, once he'll be studying here, once he'll be with us, so he can perform well in future, right? This is all about the previous one. So, yes, let's start today's reading. I continued in this unpretentious situation for nearly a year. See how the boy was being handled over there, how they took him, because he was known as a low profile boy, right? He wasn't having that much importance as he could have, right? The reason was what? The reason was, like, everybody was thinking about him, that he's not that much, he wasn't diligent enough, he wasn't hardworking enough, or maybe he doesn't deserve to be at the top of the that list. So he was known as unpretentious, type of situation. He was over there, he falls in that category. However, by being so long in the lowest form, so he remained in the same category for a long time period, right? I gained an immense advantage over the cleverer boys. Now there were some other cleverer and smarter boys as well, right? And they had a lot of importance. But what happened? Like, there was a huge advantage as well. Advantage of what? They all went on to learn Latin and Greek. See, students, interestingly, or I must say that most importantly, the way they are telling us here, that they used to go to other classes, right, for learning Latin and Greek. And now few students were left in that particular class where where this boy, that Churchill, was there, right? And now what advantage actually he was getting? The advantage was that he gained more attention, right? The teacher was paying more attention to those particular those some a few of those students, and marvelous things like that, and some other fantabulous stuff happened over there, and marvelous stuff they were learning, of course they were there. But I was taught English. I was the one. And as they were thinking about him, that he is not able to learn these hard languages or hard subjects as Latin and Greek, so they decided to teach him English. And it was like he was satisfied in that, right? We were considered such dunces. Oh my God, they were known as dull-minded students. Dull-minded in this regard that they can't do anything. They are not in capacity or they don't have that capability to learn those subjects, right? So that we could learn only English, and they thought about him that we should just teach them English. Mr. Somervell, a most delightful man, to whom my debt is great. Now, this is all about Mr. Somervell. What he was a teacher, right? He was the one who was teaching them English. He was a pleasant guy. He had his own personality. His persona was totally different, right? His personality traits actually made him so closer to those students, and they were in. His lecture was actually so interactive, and he gave his attention. He paid attention, and he convinced the boys to teach English in a on a lighter note, right? He was teaching them nicely, and he says he clearly and loud and clear, I must say, that he told everyone that yes, I can never forget his services, the way he served us and the way he taught us. I can never repay that, or I cannot never pay back that whatever he did for me. Now, we charge the duty of yes. Now, debt is great was charged. Mr. Somervell, a most delightful man to whom my debt is great, was charged with the duty of teaching the stupidest boys. Now, see, he's saying about himself like, I was known as the stupidest boys. Like he falls in that category, right? The most disregarded thing, namely to write mere English. Now, he because he was also he is in that group where they were teaching them the Mr. Somerville was teaching them basics of English, right? Because other subjects were not there, so he was wholly solely he was paying attention towards basic English, right? Actually, back and forth, they were trying to, all of the staff members and all the teachers over there, they were trying to motivate him to learn, right? And to bring him up. But the problem was, as they were thinking about himself, that he doesn't have any background of Latin and Greek. So that's why they thought that we should start from ABCs, right? So that's why they started this language first, because those languages were and those subjects were harder than these, right? That was the main reason. Okay, so now he knew how to do it, and he was the one, because he knew the psyche of the students, and he was handling them pretty well. He had that idea, and he had his own perception level, he had his own teaching style as well, right? He taught it as no one else has ever taught it, because his methodology was he made that methodology easier than other teachers, right? They used to teach English, right? The reason was he was trying to motivate them and to give them to stimulate them that they can come up with their, and they can be in the same category where all other students fall in. Not only did we learn English parsing thoroughly, now this is also the part, like he just taught them how to break the sentence into different pieces, right? Why into pieces? So that the student can easily recognize about different parts, that which part it belongs to. I mean, like maybe it's adjective or verb or noun or a subject or pronoun, like this. So it'll be easy for the students to understand and to make their concepts clear, right? We also practice continually English analysis, and of course there were he just made them familiar with different type of analysis as well. Mr. Somervell had a system of his own teaching methodology, his own teaching style, and his own way to convey that message regarding that particular subject. So his mindset was, he was pretty sure and clear that whatever I'm teaching my students, they are learning and they are getting me and they are along with me. So it was his confidence, and due to his confidence, students were also giving him response and learning as well. He took He took a fairly long sentence and broke it up into components by means of black, red, blue, and green inks. He was using different colors of inks also to just make it a little more clear and to highlight for the sake of students' understanding, right? So that students can easily understand and can easily get exactly what he wanted to say or to convey. Subject, verb, object, relative clauses, conditional clauses, conjunctive and disjunctive clauses. So these were all differently highlighted, right? Differently, these all were highlighted. Each had its color and its bracket. Yes, for sure, he was, because he has to differentiate for this purpose. He was using this. It was a kind of drill, for sure. It was a kind of drill for the practice for the source students, because once they'll be familiar enough, once they'll be using when once they'll be used to of it, so they'll be learning more than before, as they were doing before, right? We did it almost daily, and it wasn't a practice of a day or two, right? It was a practice of on daily basis. As I remained in the third year 3 times as long as one anyone else. So I mean, like, uh, once you stay there, once you keep learning the same stuff, or the same syllabi, or the same pattern, or the same text, so of course you are, or maybe same exercises, so means back and forth, if you are learning something, so it leaves a very good impression on your persona, and it I mean, like, it means like you are learning something. So this is how he was learning, and he was getting more confident in that I have learned this language, and he felt himself a lucky one, that thank God I'm here, right? Because he has been learning English a lot. I had 3 times as much of it. I learned it thoroughly. For sure, that's what I've told you already. This I got into my bones the essential structure, ordinary British sentence. So it was like penetrated, right? Right. So it was in his mind that yes, I have learned it a lot, and now I can reproduce it very well, and I can produce it confidently, which is a noble thing. Of course, it was so. And when, after years, my school fellows, now students, these sentences are quite catchy, right? Just it made me engaged for long. Just you may also focus this. Just keep your eyes open, okay? And I'm gonna read this again for you from here. And okay, are you with me? Okay, start. And when, after years, my school fellows who had won prizes and distinction for writing such beautiful Latin poetry and pithy Greek epigrams had to come down again to common English. Yes, this is the point, students. See, all of them were quite like they were outstanding students. They were performing very well. They had their own writing stuff over there. They were creative writers over there in those particular languages. But what happened? They used to write different poetries and idioms. They could make idioms, and they could make some short sentences and short stories and poetry and all that. But what happened? They had to come down again to common English. What was the reason? To their living or make their way. Because for sure now it was taken as a common language, so they were supposed to be very good in this language too. It's okay, they were learning. Those were, at that time, in that era, those languages were known like maybe little superior languages, right? Or the superior subjects, they considered that. But later on, like, English got so familiar, right? Everybody was praising, and in rank, even when we just check it in rank, so it it raised up, right? So English was taken as, it has to be, they have to take it seriously. I did not feel myself at any disadvantage. Now, this is the point where he just mustered up his courage, and where he thought about himself that, yes, I am the one who did good with me. I did good with me, right? My teachers did good with me. Like, they were very supportive, and they were very, I must be thankful to them, because they taught me this language, and now I am the one who will be leading them, because they had to learn this language as well. Why did they ignore this? Because they were paying attention towards other side and towards other subjects, and they were ignoring this subject. Naturally, I am biased in favor of boys learning English, but I would make them all learning English. It's okay, fine. He said that I'm in favor of that. That the students, it's okay, fine. They could have some other subjects. I don't mind that. But the thing is, now this is the part. This is an important part, and they can't ignore it, and they should learn. This is very important, and for all this, it's not only for them, but for all the students, they should be good enough in this particular subject, this specific subject. And then I would let the clever ones learn Latin as an honor. He said that first they should do that, and then afterwards they can switch to the next one. And Greek as a treat. Yes, it can be taken as a bonus, but at first they need to be good enough in this language, which is used in routine life. But the only thing I would whip them for is not knowing English. I would whip them hard for that. He said, I'll be giving them tough time, even maybe that could be taken as a corporal punishment even. He said if they are not doing it, or doing that, they are not learning that language, or if they are not taking this language seriously, they should be given serious punishment, right? It's very important why they have ignored it intentionally and why they were focusing on other language. So collectively, now reading after this paragraph, what we have come, which conclusion you have drawn. The conclusion is this, that other subjects are also very important. It's his own. I'm just talking about his perception, right? Then we'll be conclusively we'll be talking, right? Collectively, right after this paragraph, once we have finished this reading, so what we have concluded, that this subject can should not be ignored in the way he's telling, right? Now, and above all, Churchill himself did what? He kept studying for long, right? He was very good in English, and in result, what happened? Like he was known as as a famous author over there, and he wrote several books, and the most notable being his A History of the English Speaking People. He wrote 4 volumes of this, right? And he won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1953. So students, take this chapter seriously, review it once again, and think about it, that and use these words and some phrasal words, pick them out, and then just start learning those words meanings as well, right? Yes. Now here we go. These are your vocabulary words. We have already, you have while reading, we have been through it. But still, if you have stuck in somewhere, or if you see like any, if you feel a little confusion, so you may review the words meanings from here. जी बेटे. Now it's about question answers. uh, Question answers are of course very important. I think, right, if you have read the chapter carefully and if you were with me, so there wasn't any confusion, you may write the answers yourself, but for your ease, I'm just letting you know, right? So the question number one is, how old was Churchill when he entered the inhospitable region of examination, right? So the answer is very simple. When Churchill entered the inhospitable regions of examination, he was 12 years old, right? Number two, which subjects were dearest to Churchill and which ones were fancied by the examiners? Students, we have discussed it in detail, but let me just tell you a little about it. Churchill's choice was very different from the examiners. His dearest subjects were very simple, like history, poetry, and writing essays. The examiners, on the other hand, fancied Latin and mathematics. G. In what way did Mr. Weldon take a broad-minded view of Churchill's Latin? Yes, question number three, right, students? Mr. Weldon took a broad-minded view of Churchill's Latin in the way that he showed discernment in judging his general ability instead of sticking to the performance in the Latin paper. Accordingly, he allowed Churchill to get admission in his school that hero, right? The next question is, how were the names printed in the schools list, and at which position did Churchill's name appear? The same point, right? It was sarcastically, I just told you, but let's take it again. You can just review and like the previous whatever we discussed about it. It was so interesting. The name of the new boys were painted printed in the school list in alphabetical order, and Churchill's correct name was Spencer Churchill. Churchill, starting with an S, appeared at the second last number. And what happened, if you remember, students? Even those the last student, he got sick maybe, or he fell ill and he left the school, and he was the last one then. Yes, the next question is, what was Mr. Somerville's system of teaching English? That was so interesting. That was so fantabulous. That was splendid, I must say. So, what was his system of teaching? It was different from a conventional method. His style was to take a fairly long sentence and then break it into components by means of different colorings like subject, verb, object, relative clauses, and conditional clauses, conjunctive and disjunctive clauses. Each had its color and its bracket. So students, these are also like from 6 to 11 to and then 12 13. These are little detailed question answers. You may see yourself, and if you feel like there's any problem, so you may ask me later, right? That's not a big deal, because you have read and understood this chapter in detail. And I think each and every single word we have discussed, there is nothing hidden, and there is no ambiguity at all that you get confused in. But still, if you feel problem, you may ask me. Most welcome. Here we go. Yes, Bete, you must have heard this word before. Synonyms are very important when it comes to any language. When it comes to just text, or for any of the language, right? To forget about, regardless, it's apart from it, that if you just take it, if it's English, or if it's Urdu, it's French, it's any of the languages, right? When you talk about synonyms, means you need uh, new words. You need variety of words for the same word, right? You need variety of meanings for the same word, for a particular word. Why it's important? Have you ever noticed that? Let's just give. Let me give you an example. You have taken, if you are writing a sentence, right? Or if I ask you simply to write a paragraph for me about a teacher, or maybe about your mother, about your father, and it's about happiness, right? And you start writing it. In your first sentence, you are using the word happy, and right after two sentences, if you need to use this word again, so will you be writing happy again? If no, for sure not. What's the reason? Reason is that for that purpose you need to use another word. Why to use another word? To just enhance the beauty of that paragraph, or you need to improve the presentation, and for just beautifying that particular paragraph. So for that, you need to use another word that will be taken as content. Now, if you're going to use that word third time, maybe the end of the paragraph, or maybe the second last line of the paragraph. So once again, if you need to use a word, so instead of these two words which you used before, maybe happy, not happy now, fine, good enough. Content, no, I don't want to use this again because I need variety in it, right? So I have to make it little catchy. So what will you be doing? You'll be using now joyful, means the third word, right? So let me just tell you the example, the definition, and then we'll see the examples. A synonym is a word or phrase that means exactly or nearly the same as another word or phrase in the same language, right? It can be of any language. That's why they haven't mentioned English language, right? So that, as I've told you earlier, it can be for any language. Baffle, confuse. Examples are happy, content, joyful. Baffle, confuse, deceive. So now today which tip I have given you for learning, for having, for writing good English, right? That is that there were two tips, right? First, I told you there must be continuity, and the second, that was I told you in the beginning, if you remember, that was about prose, right? First tip was that how to read prose type of writing. That's a novel, and then that can be your drama, that can be your any short or long story. That's called prose. And the second information which I've shared with you is about synonym. In synonym, why it's useful for you? Because while writing a good paragraph or maybe a quality piece of writing, what you need to do, or to make your writing piece of writing attractive or catchy, what you need to do, you need to replace that one particular word with another beautiful, or maybe any attractive word, I must say, not beautiful, or maybe any good word, or maybe that can be exactly the same or maybe near to that. Yes, I think it's enough for today. I hope it wasn't boring, right? So this is my message for you today. And this message is about, always remember you are braver than you believe. Yes, students, usually it happens. We think like, no, 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 we can't do it. I don't think so that I can do it, because you don't feel yourself very confident to do anything. But then you need to just gather yourself, and you should feel like, yes, I can do it. So this is about your belief, right? So you need to feel yourself brave and stronger than you may seem. And the same way, you need to be stronger enough and smarter than you think. So whatever you're thinking about yourself, that maybe I'm not that much smarter or active or intelligent or diligent. So never think about yourself this way. You are. You are. So make up your mind, get yourself ready, fasten your belt, and ready to move. Right? It's your world. You can do wonders in life, right? Stay home, stay safe, and stay connected. Remember us all in prayers. God bless you.